What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Elementary, Season 5, Episode 15, Wrong Side of the Road. So, if you've watched my Elementary reviews recently, you know that, honestly, I've been very disappointed. Just because it's a show about Sherlock Holmes, but it hasn't been interesting in the least. The cases have been boring, the story on the outside, all about Shinwell and what's going on in his life, has been really boring. It's been a boring season so far, and I've been very disappointed with that. So, when I looked on IMDb for this one, find out the episode number and name, I saw 8.8, and the past few have been like below 8s. And I'm just like, I wonder if it's actually this good. As soon as they started showing Kitty in the previously on Elementary, I'm just like, okay, something interesting's about to happen. I can already feel it. Because Kitty honestly was probably one of the best things from, was it last season? I'm pretty sure it was last season. Yeah. But she was a very interesting character. Her story was very interesting. I love what they did with her arc. So seeing her back, I like it. I think it's a good choice. I'm glad that she comes back. Even though it's only probably going to be for the few episodes that they're on this story, or maybe 2 episodes. But it does kick off a very interesting story. So she's back, and she tells Sherlock that a friend of his that died was murdered. It wasn't an accident. And so she has all these other cases that similarly look like accidents but are actually murders, she believes. And so Sherlock, sure enough, sees the same thing and it's just like, okay, let's look into this. So they start looking into it, and from there it just keeps going. It's just, it keeps building. It looks like there's this one guy, because all of these people that are being, all these people that died accidentally, actually murdered, are all connected to this one case about this guy who was doing something over in England. I can't really remember. They explained it, but I kind of blanked out during that scene. But, they were all part of his trial that happened over in England. And so all of these people were dying. And so Kitty is just like, well, Sherlock and I were involved, I think. I know Sherlock was definitely involved. I can't remember if she said she was involved or not. But she's just like, we could be next. So, from there they're trying to figure out, okay, so this guy's a paraplegic now, so it must be an assassin. And so Sherlock thinks he's found the assassin, and he's talking to the guy, and then all of a sudden the body of his friend that they were going to try to get exhumed gets burned. And so it's just like, holy crap, what's going on? And so they start looking into it more. The guy that's a paraplegic calls Sherlock, and then he gets killed. And so now it's just like, well, who did it? And at the very end, all of a sudden, there's the FBI inside of the brownstone. They're taking all of Sherlock's information. There's the guy that Sherlock thought was the assassin actually turns out to be working for the defense something. I know what it is, but I can't remember it now. But so he's working for the government. So yeah, it's kind of like, what is this all about? What's going on exactly? And honestly, I like the fact that they managed to kind of fake us out a little bit. It wasn't just a straightforward case. It wasn't let's just go through the motions. Who really cares? We'll hit this, we'll hit this, we'll hit this, then we'll find the murderer. It turned out to be pretty confusing, and actually you had to try to use some logical deductions to try to figure it out. And I love it when they do that, because whenever the body gets burned, honestly, at first I was wondering, okay, well, Kitty keeps disappearing, so what if she actually burned the body to make it look like, okay, somebody wanted the body burned, so now it's a way for them to manage to exhume the body, or, well, look into the case a bit further. So I'm like, what if Kitty did that? Well, we find out later in the episode she has a kid, so never mind. It was just kind of the fake information, like, oh, she's disappearing, maybe she did that. And then we find out, oh no, she just has a baby, that's all it was. So, okay, there you go. Whenever Sherlock talks to that guy that was in the wheelchair, and he's talking about meeting him at the club, I'm thinking, okay, so is this like a way for him to like get to Sherlock and try to kill him? Like, what's going on? And then we see him in the apartment. I'm like, okay, so what is he gonna call the assassin in? And then he opens up a drawer and he pulls out a gun. I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. And all of a sudden he hits the top of a van. I'm like, oh, okay, so he's a victim now. And it was very well set up to make me think one thing and then do something different. The way they set it up was very well done. It made me think they were going a typical route, a cliche, just to switch it up and do a twist. So they did that pretty well. The Kitty's story, I think, is very interesting. Just seeing how she's now become a mother. and now she's like wanting to leave the detective business, and of course what that means to Sherlock and all of that. I like the chemistry that Joan and Kitty have. I thought this when they were working together earlier as well. You know, when Kitty first came on the show, I thought they kind of had a little bit of a sisterly connection going on because they both know Sherlock, but they both know how frustrating he can be, and so seeing them have to work together, it was kind of interesting. I liked the dynamic that they had there. So seeing them work together again was fun. Seeing Sherlock being back to a better detective, you know, like they're talking at the end about, okay, so clearly this guy was not responsible, so we need to find somebody who is very good with technology because they managed to get in and out of the apartment without being seen and didn't leave any traces. And they get back and then all the FBI vehicles are there, and he realizes, oh wait, they didn't set off any of my alarms, which means very good with technology stuff. So our culprit must be inside. So sends Joan and Kitty away before they can go in as well. So I don't know. He feels a little bit more like a detective in this one. You know, there's a moment earlier on where the the woman whose husband was Sherlock's friend, they're questioning her about, you know, what happened that morning when he died, and she described a guy that Sherlock had seen inside of the place where he met the guy in the wheelchair, and so he drew his face from memory just based on the features that she described. So it's a little bit more like Sherlock. You know, I've talked about how the past several episodes, I feel like his deductive reasoning has been nerfed. You know, like, oh, he's too good. All of these cases would be solved easily if we had normal Sherlock. So we gotta have human Sherlock. Who wants to see human Sherlock? You know, I want to see Sherlock Holmes doing his thing, figuring stuff out when nobody else can. So it was just nice to see Sherlock figuring stuff out when nobody else really was, or you know, taking all it takes is a second or one piece of information and he's figured something out. So I really do enjoy that, and I hope they continue that because seeing him without his very high deductive reasoning and seeing him not be able to figure cases out that even a toddler could, it's kind of frustrating whenever they do that. So the final thing to talk about is I am curious to see like what's gonna happen with Kitty as far as, because it almost feels like this is kind of like, okay, she's come back, but this is like the last time because one, she's got a kid, so she's not going to be a detective anymore. But I am kind of curious to see what's going to happen with her story. You know, is she? We've already seen the captain's okay with her. You know, so whatever she said to him after she ran away last time, because she was worried the guy was going to talk about what she did to him, dipping his face in acid. Um, I was wondering if there was going to be some sort of retribution for that, but Captain Gregson sees her and gives her a big hug. He's like, "Oh, nobody told you you were going to be in town." So clearly he's okay with her, but I do have to wonder what's going to happen with her story. Like, is there going to be some sort of sad ending, or is it going to be just an all happy ending with all when all of this is done? Who knows? You know, I'm curious to see what's going to happen there, but I don't think that they're going to kill her off. I was wondering if they were going to kill her off, or maybe she was going to end up in jail, but now that she's got a kid, I don't see that happening. You know, I kind of see the next episode ending with Sherlock is talking to Kitty about quitting the detective business, and you know they have a conversation about that. So maybe I'm wrong, maybe they'll prove me wrong, but that's kind of where I see that going. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the next episode. It is exciting. It's a good story. It's a good case for the first time in a while, and I'm the only sad part about this is I see that it's like they've got this episode, then we got next week's episode, and then it feels like after that there'll probably be another break before we get back into the rest of the season. And that's a little bit disappointing because I want this to be like, okay, so this is going to be like a 4 episode thing where they're having to figure all of this out. But no, it's probably just going to be 2 episodes and this case is done and we're back to Shenwell again and I'm going to be back to hating it. But, you know, it's what I got to put up with sometimes. So that's about it for this episode. If I missed anything, let me know. But also let me know what you thought of this episode. What were the good things? What were the bad things? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all the good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future elementary reviews, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.